Once you choose these tenants or define the attributes related to these tenants in this cloud application, you can go back to the cloud application policy and you attach the appropriate tenancy profile, and it gets applied whenever your end users, whether it is your employees or partners or contractors, when they access the application, those restrictions within that tenancy profile you define will get attributed to that cloud application access. So those are very powerful when you combine restricting at a tenant level along with the granularity offered in the cloud applications. Together will give you a best-in-class security posture to make sure your data incidents and violations are minimized. Speaking of Office 365 specifically, as I mentioned, every cloud application tenancy needs to be defined in a profile. What that means is you have an option to create a profile for your employees, separate or different from your third parties, vendors, and contractors. And each of these profiles provides granular options. In case of Office 365, there are two versions. There is a tenancy restriction V1 and tenancy restriction V2. The difference between these two is in version 1, you have to give just the information about the tenant directory ID, tenant profile name, which are oftentimes available in the Microsoft 365 admin console. And once you give that, you are basically restricting that particular third party or contractor to only access their tenants. They cannot access your parent organization tenants. So that's what version 1 does. In version 2, things are much more advanced. Microsoft has done some additional capabilities around tenancies where you not only define whether the third party can access their tenant or not, along with the tenant, you could specify the applications within the tenant. For instance, I could say my contractors or third-party employees on location 1, which I am managing, can only access their Outlook or Exchange Online. They cannot access SharePoint or OneDrive. You could specify that in M365 portal. Once you generate that policy within the Microsoft 365 portal, they will give you a specific ID, which you need to copy here once you select version 2. So these are the different advanced capabilities our platform offers, whether you are using tenancy restriction version 1 or version 2 from Microsoft standpoint. Once you define these tenant profiles for your employees, third party, and contractors, you then go and associate this with your cloud applications when they are accessing a specific cloud application, be it Exchange Online, Office 365, and so on and so forth. This gets automatically applied at the entire organization level. So the Microsoft 365 tenancy restrictions, we have two options. Look in the other video where I talked about how to configure Microsoft 365 configuration options, whether you want to use by cloud application method through inspection or just leverage Microsoft recommended one-click configuration. So this automatically, depending on the choice you make there, if it is Microsoft recommended one configuration, the tenancy profile restrictions you put here will be applied globally for all the employees in the organization. So Zscaler will automatically apply this, updates, policies, and everything to these endpoints. And most importantly, these controls make sure and lock users in an approved Office 365 tenants so that you're minimizing the accidental data leakage and data incidents and violations. And also these policies, as I mentioned, get applied to cloud applications of Microsoft 365 if you choose the inspection option. So there is a flexibility on how and what you could do. What we do when this option is selected under the hood is we look at those authentication domains like login.microsoftonline.com, login.office365.com. We intercept those transactions. We insert this header with appropriate information you provided here, and we let that transaction go to Microsoft. And Microsoft then opens that transaction, inspects the transaction, extracts the information what we shared, and applies the appropriate tenancy controls. So this is one of the most common used capability on our platform. Today, more than 3,000 plus customers on Zscaler platform are using Office 365 tenancy restrictions in one way or the other, version 1 or version 2, to get the desired outcomes in restricting and locking the access to appropriate tenants.